Hello, welcome back. We are at episode 31.
Yes, episode 31. So in the previous episode, Yeshua was receiving the famous baptism in the Jordan River,
That's right, yes.
Which was bringing a conclusion to the inclusion of the Christic Energy into him, into his personality.
Yeah, he got a lot of energy through that, didn't he?
Yeah, there was a
lot
fantastic download from the central sun of the galaxy, bringing an aspect of itself to Yeshua, to help him in his endeavor of teaching Palestinian people.
Can you imagine he needed all of that?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes, he did.
You know, to have to go up everything he had to go up against, that was...
Yeah.
They knew what he needed, so that's a good thing.
So, in this episode now, we're going to see how Yeshua learns how to live with Kristos, the Christic energy in him. And we're going to see that the transition between Yeshua and the new Christ energy is not so easy. So there is
Well, I'm sure
a whole
he's got to be
period
able
of
to...
adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge what he's experienced.
Yeah. So after his baptism, Yeshua is going to spend 4 days all alone in the desert toward the Mount Nebo. So the Mount Nebo is located on the eastern part of the Dead Sea, and it's supposed to be the location where Moses died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, apparently he died in those mountains somewhere. And so it's going to be 4 days of complete solitude with just the wind and the shrieking of the birds of prey. So he's all by himself, And it's absolutely necessary to regulate the unstoppable energy that is now inhabiting him, And he is also admitting that without all the training he has received in the past and without his perfect mastering of the breath work, his physical body could not have coped with that energy.
Yeah.
And he would have been dead. So, I don't think any normal human being could receive such energy without being vaporized.
Right. Yeah, because it could tax onto your nervous system.
Oh, it tax on everything, yeah.
Huge, yeah.
So it is only at the dawn of the fourth day that Yeshua is finally able to gather what he calls the exploded pieces of his physical and vessel and being,
That's kind of funny, though.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see later on what happens to him, and this is not an image. It's literally what is going on. Yeah, yeah. So, and he's also wondering, what is left of Yeshua. In fact, he realized that almost nothing is left, and it's as incredible as it may sound. Even his voice has changed. And this is actually frightening him, the fact that you no longer have the same voice.
Yeah. I
I
wonder why that is. Is it because it's...
Well, I suspect that the Christic energy may have given him a voice which is louder and more powerful.
More powerful and probably has a frequency.
Yeah, frequency,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, that may actually...
Because you don't know
the soul of the people.
You don't know how those frequencies, how they affect people, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But definitely from a physical perspective, he needed a voice which allowed him to address, large crowds of people, and speak, from a distance. And we will see also in the future what he's doing also and why he's speaking to the people on a boat on the lake, right? Because he's using the water
as an amplifier,
as a way to project his voice to the shore. Yeah.
So that's what he does? He gets on the boat in the water?
He does that quite often.
Oh, okay. Smart.
Yeah, there was no, electronics or amplification at that time, so no microphones. So he's also realizing his personal power, what is called the paramukta, is still active, since he has acquired it. He basically finalized the mastering of the paramukta in the Himalayas during his stay in the Himalayas, when he was able to create, invoke things from the ether and materialize things in food and different things, right? But again, Yeshua being very humble, it's out of question for him to waste it and misuse it. So Paramukta is always left, on the back burner. He doesn't want to tax it.
He wants to make sure it's always there when he needs
So
it.
after those 4 days in the desert by himself, he's back on his way to Jericho, and he's walking and he's thinking about the monumental responsibility and how he's going to use that Christic energy, which is now inside him, everywhere. And he comes to the realization that he must create a new way of thinking, okay, and behaving for the people of Palestine. And he called it a way to bring some sort of unity made of diversity.
Okay.
Okay, so he's trying to take people who are diverse in their beliefs and religions, and habits, and bring them all together and create some kind of unity. And he wants to also install a compassion, an infinite compassion that would open a door to what he called eternity. Okay, so instead of having people bickering against each other, bring more compassion. Yes, yes. And most importantly, and I think this is also very important to understand, he wanted to abolish the rituals and the religions which are already in place in Palestine, in that place, which is mostly, the Hebraic religion, not to name
So the
it.
sacrifices. And...
Yes, so no more temples, no more synagogues, no more priests, no laws, no prescriptions, nothing else other than a direct and spontaneous ritual of the soul and spirit facing the infinite. And of course, no animal sacrifices. I mean, this is something that
it's not going to be an easy thing.
Yeah, he will fight all his life against that. It's very difficult to get rid of it. Yeah, and he's wondering, is that so crazy that nobody will embrace it? So, while walking on a very narrow path, and he's lost in his thoughts, Yeshua does not notice a Roman soldier riding a horse and coming at good speed, toward him. And the Roman screams, and tells him to get out of the way because, when a Roman comes, you have to move
galloping
scoot
down
over, right?
Right.
Yeah, they are the leaders of the country. So, and Yeshua is so lost in his thoughts, he doesn't have time to avoid the rider. And what happens is that the horse and the Roman rider are just going through his body.
Did the Roman realize that?
Yeah,
like
of
he
course,
did?
yeah.
Okay.
So the animal and the rider are just going through his body, like if it did not exist.
Yeah. So he still hasn't materialized himself all the way.
Exactly. So, and they are not harming Yeshua, and it's demonstrating that his body is not still perfectly integrated yet,
Wow.
He's just, I would say, a cluster of atoms and molecules, but is not exactly physical yet.
Right.
Yeah. And the interesting part is that Yeshua does not even turn the head, after being, he just feels the horse and the Roman, going through him. Through him.
But he doesn't even turn around.
But he doesn't even turn around. But he knows that behind him, the Romans turn his head. And he's so stunned, so shocked.
Yeah.
That the guy decided to, increase the gallop of his horse and then run away.
Like, I'm really out of here. I don't know. I think I would too. It's a little unnerving.
Even though he's lost in his thoughts, he perceives everything that happened around him and what the Roman thoughts, and the fear that was inhabiting the Roman during that little event. Yeah. So again, this event is showing that Yeshua and his physical body and atoms are still not fully integrated at this stage, and so he's thinking, okay, maybe in a few more days, the density will catch up and I will be again as a whole normal being,
Solid.
Yeah, solid, yeah. For the audience who remember the initiation in Egypt, again, his body was in the sarcophagus and came out of the sarcophagus through the lid, the granite lid,
that's right.
without touching the lid.
So it's not his first
all
rodeo.
the molecules of his body basically went through the crystalline structure of the granite, and he recomposed his body outside of the sarcophagus. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to realize that, And so because of that, he's going to spend another 3 days near the Yarad River, the Jordan River, hidden, and he's going to try to solidify his face, his hands first, and then his body. Yeah. But he really needs to solidify his hands and his face because that's what he touches things with, And to do that, he's going to build a chorten or stupa. For those who knows, it's an assembly of flat stones, that they normally do in the Himalayas. Yeah. I mean, he learned how to do it in the Himalayas during his long journey there. And he's going to, gather some flat stones around the river and build that big chorten or stupa. And this exercise is actually helping his hands and his feet and ankles
start to
becoming solid again because he's touching the dirt, he's touching the rocks,
he's grounding,
yes, and he's regaining the muscular. I mean, he's using his muscles and everything. And the stupas that he created reach about 6 feet, so it's quite high,
Wow, he must be pretty tall too.
Yes, he's very tall. Yeah, he's a very high stature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's much taller than everybody else.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he denotes every time in a crowd, they immediately see his head above everybody else. Yeah. And the fact that the act of making that structure, that stupas, make him feel like he loves even more that land, that
he's connecting,
that ground. Yeah,
he's reconnecting.
Exactly, he's reconnecting. Yeah, and at that point, he's now walking to the lake of Kinnereth, which is also the lake of Tiberiad, and I think the modern name now is the Sea of Galilee. That's how it is being called now. But we will use the old names as much as possible. And so he walks to the lake and he enjoys the change in scenery. So, because as you people may remember, around Jericho, it's all deserts, cliffs, deserts, it's all sand. So Judea is all desert and raw. Nothing grows there. And then Samaria, which is the northern province, has some gardens and cultures. So he's starting to see some life in it,
Right.
And finally he reaches Galilee and he finds it very full of tenderness and beauty because he's also from there, right? Yeah. And he said the air was better, it smelled better. Maybe the heat was not so intense, as it is in the desert. And he also saying that the villages look like real villages with lots of people in life. So it's very interesting, and then finally he's going to reach the shore of the lake Gennesareth, and again we will be showing a map to help our audience to realize what he's doing, and that reminds him of Lake Baal. Near Meruvardhana.
His favorite place.
That's his favorite place in the world, in Kashmir,
Where he almost stayed with his friend.
He almost stayed there with Melicus.
Right.
So, and Yeshua is going to start, mingling with the fishermen. And he knows that he's going to rock their life. Okay? It is necessary, in his opinion, because the human being is in a dead end. It is caught in a web of his past. Right. He created a past which is so complex and so entangling that it is almost impossible to get out of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's hard.
And the human being,
it's all you know.
And we can see that nowadays, right?
Right. Yeah. People get stuck in their ways, and the blinders get put on, and
so he feels that it is his duty to remind the human being, about the spontaneity of loving without obligation and fear of a vengeful and warmonger God.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Because I mean, the God of the Hebraic tradition,
The
he is
Old
definitely
Testament God is
is vengeful and warmonger.
Yes.
And I would say almost satanic
I
in a lot of.
I would definitely say that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
I don't
of
know
all
what
the
kind of God would
sacrifices
for that.
and rituals.
to want to smell the blood and bring back the foreskins of children and men. And, it's like, really? 21,000 of them? I mean, just something ridiculous. But anyway, yeah.
So Yeshua is actually fully aware of the craziness of the promises made by Sananda. Sananda is this cosmic alter ego, right? A soul. And he knows that he has to clean and wash, all the memory load of this world. So this is, again, he's referring to what is called thought forms. Okay? So he wants to destroy the old thought forms, which have been put in place by millions and thousands of people, all thinking in the same way, all being brainwashed, and conditioned, programmed in a certain direction.
Right.
So everybody is contributing to solidifying and strengthening that thought forms, and it has to be destroyed.
Right.
So you can move humankind to some other directions. Yeah. And he realized that thought form is actually preventing humanity to progress. And it's valid to every time, I mean, we can say the same today.
Definitely.
Yeah. So he finally arrives in the town of Gennesareth, and again, people will be referring to the map, and he finds it very populated, And at that point, he does not feel the need to go back to his village, And his village is not too far.
Where his parents are?
Well, his parents are no longer there.
His father died,
His father died.
His
mom is somewhere else.
His mom's okay.
Yes,
okay.
she's somewhere else.
So there's no relatives, I guess?
No, not really.
Maybe distant cousins or something.
Yeah, distant cousins perhaps, or perhaps, but right now he doesn't feel like he needs to go back there.
Okay.
Yeah, and the temperature being great, it's a great weather. He does not need a roof. So he's planning to sleep just near the lake, among the weeds and everything,
Nature.
And listen to the small waves and the babbling of the water. It's a big body of water, so it's got
a little babble.
Yeah, it's a very big lake.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's the way he foresees the next few coming days, And finally, the opening that Yeshua was waiting for is happening one evening, as a group of young people comes to talk to him. So we're going to try to transcribe as much and faithfully as possible the dialogue that Yeshua has with those people.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's sometimes a little bit delicate, but I will try my best.
Well, you always use different voices for different
Right, yeah.
You're so good at that.
So again, you have to picture a group of 4 or 5 young people, from the town of Gennesareth, coming to see him. And they are coming with a little bit of attitude, and they say, "So, Rabbi, you're not going to the temple," because they see him next to the shore, in the sand with his bag, all installed. "Are you trying to grow roots in the sand? Nothing grows there." So this was said in an amicable tone, right? And Yeshua knew that they wanted to talk. Yeah. They were curious. Right. And so Yeshua responds to them and he says, "I'm not a rabbi, my friends, and I rarely push the doors of temples."
Oh boy. We're already starting with the blasphemy.
Yeah, and so one of the young guys says, "Oh, be careful with what you are saying. You're not from around here, obviously." And Yeshua responds, "That is correct, Toby. In fact, I walked a lot before arriving here." And Toby says, "How do you know my name?" And Yeshua says, "Oh, it came to me. But I could have given you another name, a Roman name, for example, Flavius." Oh. You like that name, isn't it? And at that point, the young man is shocked. and kneel near Yeshua. And he says, "Who told you?" "Yes, it is the name that I would have loved to have, but my parents gave me the name of Toby." And so
it doesn't sound like I don't know.
No, it's
like
not a bad name, but you wanted to be called Flavius. You wanted to have a Roman name.
Yeah.
You know? Again, the Romans have been in Palestine for the past 80 years. So that's a lot. That's 3 generations, basically, right? Almost 4.
They're almost Romans.
Yeah. So the whole group of, those 4 or 5 young people are going to sit around Yeshua, And again, the young Toby says, "Tell me again, how do you know my name?" He's really curious about that. And Yeshua tells him, "Your names came to me because I did not spend my time in the synagogues. Instead, I lived, I watched, and I listened."
Okay.
Instead of spending my time in the temple, reciting what has been taught to me or programmed in my brain, he lived, watched, and listened and learned, So the young guy say, "Oh, you're kidding us. That makes no sense, right?" And then Yeshua says, "It makes no sense, Messiah." So now it's another guy who talked. "Do you find it right to be stoned because you do not go to the temple?" So I think it's important for the audience to know that in that time, when you didn't go to the synagogue, at the right time and as prescribed by the scripture, you would be stoned. They would basically throw rocks to you until you really hurt a lot, just to remember you to go to the temple. So Messiah, Messiah turns to Yeshua and says, "So you know my name too?" And Yeshua tells him, "It's very simple, Messiah. It is because I learned to recognize the eternal in all things. That's how I know your name. Do not think I do not respect the scriptures, I know them by heart. However, what I respect the most is life. Not the scriptures, life." And again, I want the audience to realize, who do you respect the most? The scriptures, and you have to massacre and kill thousands of animals, or do you respect life? Think about it.
Well, God is about love and life, right?
Yes.
Not about
sacrifices and war
and rocking people to death.
Yeah. And revenge and. So the dialogue between Yeshua and those young people are going to continue, late in the night, and Yeshua feels that there is a fertile ground in these young people. Okay?
Like he's got a little window of opportunity.
Yeah, and so he asked them, "Are you happy, guys? Are you all aspiring? You are all aspiring to another world because they told you there was one." And I think they are talking about heaven. Yeah. That's the carrot that they showed.
The control.
Yeah.
Like they know. They don't know.
They don't have a clue.
No. Okay.
And he said to the group, you're praying because they told you to do it, to access that other world, to go to heaven, right? You're only doing that. You're only doing what you have been authorized to do, nothing else. Right. They told you what you can say, what you can do, and nothing else. And the days are passing, and you're still running after happiness without finding it. And he said to the young people, "Look at the previous generations, your fathers, your grandfathers, mothers and grandmothers. They are waiting, they cry, they lament. Sometimes they revolt, and they always end up submitting at the end of the day, because there is no other way for them to find God."
Right.
Yeah. And then Yeshua continues, "How many are talking directly to the eternal and to the life that animates them?" And I think it's important to understand that the life that animates you and your body, the energy of the soul,
right?
Okay,
right,
that makes you a living being. they're not trained. And they limit themselves to the words that have been taught. So Yeshua continues to address that, that small group of 4 or 5 young people. And he tells them, do they only know, talking about the ancestors, what is the light of the eternal and how to have a dialogue with him. Besides the prayers that are being taught by the scriptures, is there any other ways? Of course, there are many other ways. And after a while, the young men are standing up and leaving Yeshua for the night, and they tell him, forgive us, Rabbi. And that's all they say. I guess they have been, this conversation probably impacted them, in a way. And we're going to see how it goes.
Wanted to think about what he said too, right?
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, because it's a lot of information given to them, and it can be.
And he knew their names, and it's like
it's very
has
disruptive.
a very different way of thinking now, and so, and he's not afraid to voice it.
Exactly.
A lot of people wouldn't voice that, right?
So we'll see how it goes. But the next morning, it's not 4 or 5 people. It's about a group of 20 people.
Oh my gosh!
Which
the
are
word
around
got
Yeshua,
out.
on the shores of Lake Gennesaret.
Oh my gosh! Right? Okay.
And at the beginning, that group, it's only men, and Yeshua can see that they are coming because they are curious. It's a curiosity which is motivating them,
Right.
And most of the time, Yeshua is not gonna speak or say anything. He's gonna ask questions. And for him, teaching is not to speak or to be, to have a doctoral presentation. It is asking in order to invite the other person to go into the why.
Right.
Why are things, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I've been a teacher a long time ago, and I think it's so much more efficient when you ask question to the students.
Right.
Yeah. And they have to find the answers.
Right.
And so Yeshua goes, why are you here, my friends? I've been here for 2 days, and all of a sudden, you're all coming to me. And nobody is responding. Nobody has any clue why they're here.
Or they're afraid to say something first, right?
Yeah. Perhaps they are a little bit intimidated. And so Yeshua continues, asking them question. What are you looking for on that shore? What do you want? You want to watch a strange man and then leave? You want to listen to some scandalous declarations and then repeat them around you? Or is it because you're trying to understand your life and the presence of God inside you? And those last words are creating a big commotion
I'm
within
sure there's
the
a
group.
lot of stirring at that.
Yeah. Oh, God inside you.
It's trouble now.
Yeah. So, my friends, it is the presence of God inside you that is so shocking, obviously, right? Who can tell me why? Why are you so shocked? Because God is inside you? So Yeshua is pointing to an old man who was also, among the group of young people. And the old man says, I do not like what I hear, Rabbi. We are all impure in this world.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Every day we are sinning. And you are saying that God is inside us? It makes no sense, and it is scandalous.
Wow, people have been so convinced that they're bad, right?
Oh, yeah. And still today.
How can a little baby be bad? How can a baby be a sinner? All of us. I mean, okay, so there might be some things, but not. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. So at that point, seeing the reaction of that old man, who is obviously programmed, and crystallized completely in his beliefs of the scripture, the Hebraic tradition. So Yeshua is grabbing sand between his 2 hands, okay? And he's telling the old man, look at that fruit, my brother. And while saying that, he's imagining, in his head, the fruit in his hands, right?
Okay.
And he opens his hands and he reveals the fruit that he places on the sand next to the old man.
Oh.
So again, he's using the paramukta, to turn sand.
So occasionally.
Well, it's part of the teaching, right?
Right, yeah.
And
that's what captures people's attention,
yes,
too, right? Like,
exactly.
how could he do that?
Yes. Yeah. And so the old man says, "Oh, a Persian apple."
Mm.
And so for the people who may not know, the peaches did not exist in the Middle East, a long time ago, and they are coming from Persia.
Oh.
They were imported from Persia.
Okay.
So
it's not an apple, it's a peach.
It's a peach, but they call it a Persian apple.
Apple. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the old man goes, "Where did you take it? It is impossible to find them now." And Yeshua responds to the old man, "I took it in my heart, where God resides and can do anything."
Oh boy.
And so someone else is saying, "It is impossible. He's cheating. He's a magician." And Yeshua turns to the other person and says, "Who is cheating, Levi?" Or Levi. Right? Levi, I guess. Levi,
Yeah.
The one who multiply life, like I just did, or the one who does not follow the rules and takes more taxes than what he should be taking.
Ooh.
So Levi is leaving the group, obviously very hurt, by what was just said about him.
Because he's a tax collector?
So Levi is working for the Romans. He's the tax collector. I forgot how they call it. Anyway, but he's
revenue or maybe revenue.
He's collecting the taxes for the Romans, but he's always taking a little bit more than what he should be taking for his own benefit.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
I think that happens today too.
It does, yeah. So another one is asking, "Rabbi, who are you?" And Yeshua responds, "I'm simply the one who is no longer asking where and how to find God." Okay? And so they ask him, "And you found it?" And Yeshua responds, "I did not have to
go
search
very
for
far.
it. No, it has always been with me inside my heart, There is only one difference between you and me. Contrary to you, I have understood and I'm living in God's reality." So Yeshua gives the peach to the old man, the peach that he created out of sand, and he gives it to the old man. And the old man doesn't dare touching it. He thinks it's something evil or magic, and he doesn't want to do anything. And instead, what happened is like a young kid jumped and grabs the fruit and starts eating it. And runs away with the fruit, eating it, full of juice. And
oh my gosh, he's like, "Thanks."
Exactly, yeah. So at that point, Yeshua stands up and signals the end of the discussion, right? And the large group, 20 or 25 people, scatters away, and only 4 or 5 are remaining, And among them is Levi and Toby. And Levi is very shocked, and he could not understand how Yeshua was able to so quickly to see through the cracks of his personality, as a tax collector for the Romans.
Right. And know his name.
And to know his name, and to find out that he was actually stealing.
Yeah.
The people from Palestine, for the Romans and for himself. And so Levi is starting to cry, and he's asking for a benediction from Yeshua. And of course, Yeshua is giving him the benediction. And he knows that he will see Levi again later.
Oh, okay.
Most likely, Levi is going to be one of his disciples, one time or another. And so Yeshua is going to resume his walk to the town of Capernaum. I hope I pronounce it correctly, something inside him is inviting him to go to that place.
Okay.
So Capernaum, he arrives at night, but he's still full of the energy of the baptism in the Yarad, and this energy, which is Christic energy, basically. And Capernaum gives Yeshua an impression of softness, but a roughness at the same time. And in that time, it was a big village of mostly fishermen and merchants. of all kind of things and trade, It was a wealthy town with some beautiful houses, and there are a lot of boats which are moored to the docks made of stones and wood on the lake here. So, and again, I don't know exactly in English if it happens in English, but in the European language and dialect, Capharnaum means also a big mess. This is something which is used to describe, a situation or place where it's out of control. So there may be some reason why it is like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at that point, while wandering, Yeshua sees a man wandering around the harbor, obviously preoccupied by something else. So the guy is lost in his thoughts. And he decides to meet him, attracted by the flame of the aura. Again, for the audience, you can see aura. And, there is a certain magnetism that happens,
Right.
And when Yeshua gets close to him, the man turns his head and Yeshua recognizes Eliazar.
Oh!
The brother of Martha from Bethany.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as he sees Yeshua, Eliazar, comes to him and he says, Rabbi, Master, I was hoping for you the other day. We are numerous and we looked for you with no success. I did all this walking to find you.
Can you imagine back then? There's no phones.
Yeah.
There's no cab to get into to go
there are
somewhere.
not even any signs to tell you to give you directions.
Oh my gosh.
But I think everything was a lot simpler.
It's a big place to be
Yes.
able to try to find somebody. Right. You have to rely on your instincts, I guess, you know.
So Yeshua tells Eliazar, is it for me that you came or is it for you? And at that point, Eliazar, lowered his glance and said, oh, no, it is for me, of course, yeah. And Yeshua takes Eliazar in his arms, and gives him a big hug. And Eliazar starts to cry like a small kid, And he says to Yeshua, what I saw, Master, what I saw the other day, what I saw. And Eliazar cannot finish his sentence, he's so emotionally affected by, being in the embrace of Yeshua and what he saw. And Yeshua tells him, what you saw, Eliazar, cannot be told.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he saw the baptism.
Oh, okay. So what was so...
Well, we're going to talk about it.
Okay. Sorry.
And so Eliazar finally said, there was too much light. You understand? It almost choked my eyes. And these are the terms he used. Choked my eyes.
I like that.
It was like wings unfolding on a sun just above you. A few saw them. I'm not alone. So, for the audience, and I think this has been also transcribed by artists who have been trying to imagine and paint the baptism of Yeshua in the Jordan River. When this energy coming from the central sun came into his body, it touched his 8th chakra, which is located above the head. Probably, I would say, 2 to 3 feet above the head. So it's like a ball of light, of fire, basically, right? And there are two sides going on the left and the right of that ball, okay?
Okay.
And for people who are not aware of the shape of that chakra, it looks like a bird.
Oh,
and that's why it has been depicted as a dove. The dove,
Yeah.
Because it's a ball with basically 2 wings of light on the side.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not a master or if you are not capable of seeing the aura, people think that's the Holy Spirit, the energy that came was like a dove. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So Yeshua cannot explain anything to Eliazar, the time has not come yet. Yeshua can see that Eliazar is still impatient, a little bit too proud and too fragile for any explanations,
Right.
But he also see that Eliazar is an old soul, very old soul. And so he needs to be guided, he needs to be awakened.
Okay.
So we could talk what is a young soul and an old soul. Maybe we can keep that for the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And Yeshua asked Eliazar, will you come with me to my village, Eliazar? So Eliazar said, your village? Where is it? And Yeshua says, it has no name, which is true. It doesn't have any name. I mean, it's a hamlet lost in the countryside. And that is where the brothers in white performs healings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Essenians, right? Mm-hmm. Have you heard about it? And Eliazar says, yeah, my uncle told me about it. Were you born there? Mm-hmm. And Yeshua responds, my body was born there.
Oh, my body
was born there. Not him.
Right.
Because he's no longer Yeshua.
Right.
He's that Christic energy,
Yeah. He's just using this vessel right now.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeshua also realized that Eliazar is in fact a cousin of him through his mother.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So at one point, there is a bird flying above the two men, and Yeshua connects with the birds, and the birds tells him to not go to the village.
Oh.
And to continue to walk on the shores of the lake.
Okay.
Because Yeshua must go to Bethsaida, which is another little town, and there is a woman waiting for him there.
Oh.
His mother, Meryem.
Oh, okay. Finally he gets to see his mom.
Yes.
After what, 18 years?
18 years, yeah.
It's a long time.
It is awfully long, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you don't even know if you're ever going to see him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he knew he would see her.
Well, she didn't know about him,
But it's interesting that he's postponing the visit to his village,
Right.
and listening to the bird that tells him, no, you need to go to Bethsaida. So, should we talk about old soul versus young soul?
Yes, definitely.
Would you like to say something about it?
Well, from what I understand is that an old soul who's had many lifetimes here, right?
Yeah, many incarnations.
A lot of different experiences, and then of course there's a new soul because you got to start somewhere, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So those new souls are coming to learn some difficult things, unfortunately, right?
Yes.
And learning the hard way. I mean, I think we could see that even today, who the new souls are, and so it's really up to the old souls to really kind of support them.
Yes.
Kind of like what you'll see probably Yeshua doing too. He'll see that and know that they need to be supported and
helped,
and maybe influence them in a positive way. So
I think it's important to realize that there are waves of evolution, right, which are done from the dimension number 8, right, where a group of souls is being brought to the terrestrial plane, and other planets as well. But let's talk about the Earth. And that could be hundreds of thousands of years ago,
right?
Dozens of thousands of years ago, And those souls, as you said, they are called as old souls because they have been going through a lot of many incarnations, trying to be from time to time man or sometimes woman,
right?
And alternating,
right? I mean, that's how you
having any kind of experiences,
right.
And there normally comes in group too, so we tend to always incarnate within the same group
with agreements,
right?
Sometimes the agreements may not pan out.
And so when a wave has been through quite a few incarnations, sometimes there is another new wave being unleashed or released from the 8th dimension again, and that new wave is bringing new souls,
right,
which are like babies, right? And new souls are normally attracted by, as you absolutely mentioned it very clearly, by difficult situations, right?
Because they're learning.
Yeah, they're learning. And what they do may seem monstrous to us because they don't realize what they are doing. Right? So I'm not going to say who they are, but, members of cartels, big criminals, serial killers are normally young souls.
Young souls, yeah.
Because they have no clue what they are doing.
Yeah, that's why you kind of have to have compassion for everybody because, I mean, anybody who does stuff like that, has not had an easy life, time here. Yeah.
And then, after thousands and thousands of incarnations, wisdom gets into your head.
Somehow. You're like, wait a minute, I think I've been here before. This has happened. What am I going to do now? Yeah, no, it's just...
And so after that, you're looking for more
peaceful.
Better and peaceful conditions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's all new soul. That's it. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.